had the chance to sit down with head coach of Georgia Tech men's basketball, Damon Stoudamire, to learn a little bit more about him as well as what to expect this upcoming season. Let's take a look. Today I have the distinct pleasure of sitting down with Damon Stoudamire, your head basketball coach here at Georgia Tech. So Damon, we're just going to learn a little bit more about you today.
Okay.
If that's okay with you?
That's fine.
So let's start from the beginning and your journey of coming to Georgia Tech. So talk a little bit about what led you here.
Long path.
Long story.
The 30-second version. I retired in 2008 from the NBA.
Yeah.
I volunteered at Rice. I went to the Memphis Grizzlies for 2 years. I went to the Memphis Tigers for 2 years.
Awesome.
I went to Arizona for 2 years. Went back to Memphis for 1. 2016 was named head men's basketball coach at the University of the Pacific. Was there for 5 years. And then I went to the Boston Celtics for 2. And I got here March 13th, 2023. I was named the 15th head coach at Georgia Tech.
So first year here.
Yes.
Yes. What would you say you're most excited about?
What I'm excited about the most is the chance to start something new, the chance to re-energize a fan base
Definitely.
that I think is ready to be re-energized, and captivate the audience being Atlanta.
Yeah, for sure.
Start here and move beyond. How I know Georgia Tech to have always been is Atlanta's team.
That's right.
When Georgia Tech basketball is really good, they tend to be the most popular team around here. And that's how I remember it, and that's how I view it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, the ACC is obviously extremely competitive, known for the
Yes.
fierce competition.
Yes.
So how do you prep your players to meet teams that are just extremely difficult every single week after week? How do you prep your players for that?
I mean, I tell you, like, managing CEO. I mean, I think it's more than being a basketball coach.
Absolutely.
You have to be, a mentor. You have to be the father figure. Sometimes you have to be the big brother. But I think number one, getting guys to play hard, getting them to understand how hard you need to play to win games, because it's not easy to win. And then managing for them the expectation. You got to manage expectations if you're winning. You got to manage expectations if you're losing. And when you tend to lose, that's when you see the character, if you're not helping build that throughout the process, because it is a process. And so for me, being that it is a process, that's the most important thing. So I'm just trying to keep everybody on the even keel and build from there. But you can't be too high and too low. And as a manager, you have to reinforce that each and every day.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So you've been in their shoes because you played college ball, former NBA player, like you said. How does that influence your coaching philosophy and molding these young men?
It influenced it a lot because I've been in their seat. I know the pressures. I know what it is to be the best player. I know guys that may not have been the best player but are still contributors on teams. I know what that feels like. I know how to make them feel. And so a lot of things that I do from a coaching standpoint is based on how I felt as a player, when and when not to. When to pick on a situation and when not to pick on that situation. When to give them a little more sugar when it's necessary. When to give them a little more hot sauce when you have to. So it really does weigh into how I coach, and I can tell each and every day what I should do by how I feel they're doing and what I see. So
definitely, we kind of touched on this. How do you and your coaching staff, how do you work to develop not just athletes but young men on the court?
Well, each and every day is a lesson, and you either winning or you learning. I don't really ever feel like you're losing, and so even in coaching, there's a lot of teaching moments about life, and so I always tell guys, equating it, for instance, to transferring. When I was playing, there were no options of transferring. My mother wasn't going to allow me to transfer. Even if I wanted to, she wouldn't have allowed it because she viewed that as quitting. I'm not saying that transferring is quitting, but what I'm saying is if there's time for a reset, let's try to get a reset here first. Let's try to figure this out. Okay. Sometimes you got to be uncomfortable with being uncomfortable because that's what makes you a man. And as you get older, you start to learn those different things. And so that's just the type of thing that, I try to do. And I try to equate a lot of life to basketball because they can, in referencing that, they can learn a lot from it.
Definitely. What would you say values, culture, what do you want to bring to this program?
I just want high character individuals. That's the biggest thing, from a coaching standpoint, from a player standpoint. I want family. I want people that I feel like is family. I wanna walk into the doors each and every day, and I want to be here. We've all been in jobs where we go to, and then it's like, I don't really want to be here today, But the thing is that when you come to a job and you walk through the door, you want to be there each and every day. You always gonna put your best foot forward, and high character individuals, they'll allow you to do that.
Well, you touched on family. Family is a huge part, obviously, no matter what you're doing in life. So how crucial has it been that your family has been there to support you? How have they supported you throughout your coaching journey?
Man, they've been there a lot. My family has been the backbone. And for me, family is big because even when you get lost, they bring you back.
Absolutely. They keep you grounded.
I always say that, and I think that we all tend to get lost. We all tend to get full of ourselves at times. But I have a foundation. I've always had a foundation, and that's always started with my mother, where they bring me back. And it's no different now. I'm just turned 50, so
Wow.
it's the same way, and it's each and every day. And I feel that way about my own children. So
Absolutely.
it's great to have family, great to have foundation in the base.
Well, that's good to hear because I'm a boy mom, so it's nice to know that, they still go back to their mom even
Oh
at 50.
yeah, oh yeah.
This is a little different one. So in the age of social media and intense public scrutiny, how do you help your players deal with that when they are, because social media changes the whole game.
Yeah, no question.
It's a huge influence.
Well, a lot of it, I think it goes back to, our program, being a foundation for the guys. That's important. It's tough out here. I mean, we didn't, I for myself, in the era I grew up in, no social media,
Non-existent.
none of the different things. And to be honest with you, there's a lot of us, they won't, maybe some won't admit it, but we might have been in a little more trouble had it been those things. But at the same time too, again, you try to build walls around them, you try to protect them, you try to give them the good and the bad of everything. And I always tell them, you got to take if social media is something that you love, then you got to take the good and the bad with it. When it's good, let it be good. But when it's bad, now you got to deal with it. And you can't hide anything in 2023. So you try your best, and you try to let them know and protect them. But at the same time, they're dealing with it on an everyday basis, and you just got to be there for them.
Definitely, most definitely. Another thing about today's day and age is recruiting. It is probably half your job, if not more than half your job.
Right.
So when you're recruiting young men, what qualities do you look for in those student athletes?
Obviously, good basketball.
Right? Can they win?
Good basketball players, but again, guys who are willing to learn. I think that what I learned when I was getting recruited as well, you get to know families. I think like one of the things that gets to be forgotten, and I think that we do, we'll loosen the strings a little bit, is that the same way we're recruiting a kid and vice versa, they're trying to figure out, I think that, we're really trying to get to know that kid, that family, and what are those tendencies and the different things. And the same way they might see signs with us is the same way we might see signs with them.
Just trying to see if
Right. And so, it's become such it becomes such an art. And I think for me, again, high character kids, families, but I try to look at kids, and I think I vibe with kids and families more that don't overthink it. I think right now we get a lot of overthinking. None's 100% perfect, right? And there's always there's a risk on both sides. The student athlete coming to the school, the school, the staff taking on the student athlete. So there's always but we got to have a shared vision. And anyone that doesn't have a shared vision, I don't think it's going to work anyway.
100%. 100%. So I think it's safe to say that you're a role model for a lot of aspiring coaches. So what advice would you give someone who's looking to follow in your footsteps?
I mean, you got to, cliche-ish, the word is grind it out. But I just say you got to work hard. You got to know who you are. You got to be humble. I essentially told myself, like, when I was done playing, I'm just going to start over. I'm going to reinvent myself. And that's what I tried to do.
What you've done.
Yeah, so I didn't even look at myself anymore in that way. I retired. I went 6 feet deep in terms of my basketball career because it was over. And so I wanted to evolve as a coach. So I really wanted to learn, because what I learned is because you were a good basketball player doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be a good coach. You're going to be a good teacher. You're going to be a good mentor. And a lot of those things go into this because it's a 24/7 job. I tell people you actually you start with the basketball, but really and truly it's, you got to make sure academically they're good.
Yeah.
You have meetings, you have interviews, you have different things that are obligations, and it's a 24-hour day. And you can't go to sleep at night. You're kind of sleeping with one eye open, and if that phone rings, what you hope it doesn't, because nothing positive is going to happen between, midnight and 5 a.m. So hopefully you're not getting that call. But I mean, it's, you're humble, you learn, you figure it out, and you just progress over time, and things will happen for you.
Yeah. A lot of different aspects that go into it that a lot of people don't see.
Yeah, no question.
So looking ahead, what can fans and supporters of Georgia Tech athletics look forward to with you in the coming seasons?
Well, I think you'll see a team, like I said, you'll see a team that plays hard. You'll see a team that plays together on both ends of the floor. We'll share the sugar, that basketball. I love that. We got to pass the ball to one another. You'll see a talkative team. You'll see a team that loves on each other. I think that, communication is a form of love in basketball, because communication means that you're protecting your brother on the court. And I think we have that. Each year we're going to build, but, I think we got a great foundation started so far.
I think so too. I can just see it by sitting down with you. All right, last but not least, we're going to have a little fun.
Right.
If you could have dinner with any basketball legend, dead or alive, who would it be and why? Or have you done that already in your career?
I mean, I've done that. I've had dinner. I've had, a lot of conversations with this Isaiah Thomas. For me, he drafted me in Toronto. He was my childhood idol. The reality of it is that he don't get the credit for me as a basketball guy. And he beat Magic, he beat Larry, and he beat Michael. Like, he beat all three of them.
So you're good. So you're good to go with who you've gotten to meet.
Yeah, I'm good to go. I don't need to meet anybody else. He's like my guy. He's my guy. I talk to him still. Mentorship, and he's just been great for me, through this whole process.
Well, it's got to feel good that you're actually that for a lot of young men, that you don't even like you're in the same shoes you were in.
Right, yeah.
There's a lot of young men who are looking up to you, who would want to meet you as their legend. So that's something to say for yourself.
Thank
you. You should be very proud.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for sitting down with us today.
Right.
And this is just a little bit more about Damon.
Thank you.